Changes in technology bring new possibilities, and that's often where you can make a lot of money. And this is why I think that this case is pretty interesting. There's always been lots of manganese around, but often was not the technology to extract it. And this is what I think really is interesting about this year. With all of that huge demand in electrical vehicles, there came just so much R&D spending into this sector around all the batteries and stuff. And manganese is an important part of that. This is why Michael Williams from Aftermath Silver says that deposits like the one Berenguela is still there.
Historically, on the technical front, when the geologists saw manganese in an ore body, their bosses would basically say, look, don't waste a lot of time on it. Manganese makes it difficult to extract the metals traditionally by using mechanized milling processes. So Berenguela's got a lot of silver, as you're well aware, and historically they would mine silver at surface, the local people, but they never could make it a large economic business, primarily because the manganese major recovery is poor. You could only get, I think, 66% of the metals out using traditional methodology. Now, there's a process called hydromet where you're using chemicals to separate your metals. Now, that's not a new process. Maybe in mining terms it is. It's probably 20, 25 years. I know it was starting to come into vogue when I started in the business 30 years ago. So, but it's long since arrived. So using hydromet allows us to get recoveries, in the high 80s or low 90s with the manganese. So we picked it up from Silver Standard 5 years ago. And one of the reasons was they didn't want to invest a lot of manpower trying to figure out the metallurgy, and we were willing to do so. Number two is they were leaving Peru, and the third was they were merging with a gold company. So it was a bit of a perfect storm for us to put in an offer at the time.
And this sounds totally logical to me. And in this project, we know something big is in the ground. We just have to figure out if we can get it out profitably. And my personal investment case for that is that it's actually going to be battery grade, because like that, battery grade is worth way more than if you just have manganese by itself. Probably can make money still from it as well if it's not battery grade, but this would just get it on another level, and this is what I would like to see in my personal investments. So right now the question is not if there is enough, it's just like how profitable can we get it out. And if they can extract the current resource that's in the ground, there is like 10 billion or more of that. And so it's big numbers. Sure, disclaimer, I'm Andy. Here I'm just sharing my personal insights on early stage investments. Nothing what I'm saying here is financial advice or something. Stock investment is risky. You can lose everything, especially in early stage company. This is what I'm personally most interested in, because this is where you can get the huge payoffs. But please don't rely on me. Do your own research. And I'm compensated for doing this video. I'm doing this together with the MK Investment Conference. I'm not paid by the company itself. I think you should still know that. And I personally own shares in this company, so I'm kind of excited to see how it plays out in the future. Let's get back to the video. Let's talk more about the company and which stage they're currently at. So Aftermath is in the junior mining space, and they're already a so-called developer, which means they've already found a resource, and they're in the business of just making sure that you can basically extract it profitably. This is their main focus, and their timeline to getting this done is pretty clear. They're currently doing a PA, a so-called preliminary economic analysis, which is kind of delayed right now by a few months because they had a hard time finding the right engineering team. But they already want to do a PFS, pre-feasibility study in 2026, which is also a nice time frame and a good trigger for what could happen with that company pretty soon. And this is all for the Berenguela project in Peru. The company has more projects. The company in total has 3 projects, actually. 2 of them are in Chile, silver gold projects, and they're in the early exploration phase. And they're called please don't hate me if I pronounce it wrong, Cachinal and Challacollo, which in my personal subjective view probably are like, I don't know, 20% or less of the whole company value. But for me, they're not part of my personal investment case. My investment thesis is built all around the flagship project in Berenguela that we've talked about. And this is, silver, copper, manganese. And I always ask myself, okay, how much of the value contribution comes from each of the metals? I did a rough back of paper calculation where you can see a graphic here, which kind of shows how big is the change in the value contribution depending on if it's going to be battery rate or not. It's probably very wrong what I did there, but I think you kind of understand the dynamics of how more of an upside there could be if we actually can use that for batteries. Yeah, I'm not including the other two projects in this, as I said, because they're not part of my investment case. But I hope this kind of helps to understand what we've got in there and how it might change actually on the next things that we know about how we can separate the metals that we've got there. Why do I think that this can work out? This is always dependent on one or a few key people, and the reason why I think this works out is basically that there is great people on board. So Michael Williams, who set up this whole thing, this whole company, he sold undervalued resources to Kinross for, I think it was like 138 million.
Kinross succeeds in bid to acquire Underworld Resources.
Kinross to acquire Underworld for 139.2 million Canadian dollars.
Kinross announces definitive agreement to acquire Underworld Resources.
And so he has already proven that he can assemble the right team and get an exit for investors, which is important. So we know that he knows which pitfalls you can come in and what challenges you have to go through and actually get something sold for more than you put in. And he brought in a very experienced CEO into play, Ralph Rushton, a geologist, and he's got proper experience. He's got a lot of experience with majors such as Anglo American and First Mining, but also juniors who has seen all the different sides. What are they up to with that company? I mean, I've already outlined the most important next steps. This is they clearly communicate those, and it's basically just all about proof that you can make money with this deposit. We know it's enough in there, and how can we do that? This means building a reserve through proving that it's economically viable. You do that with a pre-feasibility study and then eventually a feasibility study to prove that it's worth spending the money to actually going in the next step of the PFS. We're doing the PEA right now. And we all hope that this just checks the box of the expectations that we have to this. I mean, the steps are clear, but obviously somebody has to execute on them. So let's look at who are the people who are actually doing the work on the ground. And Michael told me some time ago exactly what you need to look at if you've got the right people on board or not. So here's what he said about that.
On the development side, you need to see, if they're, they have the right expertise to develop an asset. Do they have the right engineering capabilities? Do they have the right access to capital in order to advance the development?
And that might be different people.
It's a different skill set. Sometimes it transcends from exploration to development, but to have people that have done it before and know development and also can deal with local communities and governments is extremely important on the development side.
For the capital side, I think they proved that they're able to raise. I mean, they got enough money in the bank, and they raised lots of money so far, got good people in. So I think we're good with that. And what about dealing with local communities? Michael just stresses this point as very important. What's important actually to be good at that, and how do they deal with that matter at Aftermath? Let's look at what they do for that.
Our person leading our technical charge on that is a gentleman by the name of Michael Parker. Michael Parker had worked in Peru for years. He worked for the 5th biggest copper company in the world, First Quantum, as their country manager. He's a very good geologist, but he's also very good with understanding local governments, local people, and even the federal governments. has a Peruvian passport, lives there part of the year, married to a Peruvian. But he also knew that it made more sense for us to bring in a local Peruvian person. And we took it a step further. If you look at Latin America and the history of it, with the colonization largely by the Spanish and the Portuguese in the case of Brazil, those families from Spain, Portugal, still largely run those countries. And the local indigenous people tend to be in the outlying areas, in the farmlands and such, the ranches. They tend to be indigenous. So they're starting to resent always being told by, the historic colonial families what to do. And you're seeing that break down in their politics. And, the sheer numbers dictate that, if you don't listen to the indigenous people in these countries, you do so at your own risk. So we went ahead and we hired a fellow named Victor Grande, who is a former World Bank development officer, but Victor's an indigenous Peruvian. So he speaks the local language. Let me be clear on this: just because you're a local person or you can speak the language doesn't mean you can get everything to go your way. You still have to do things properly. It just helps you along the way if you can establish a level of trust sooner. And I think by having local people on side, you can.
That sounds to me like a good reason to trust that they're basically doing the best that they can do on the ground. But what are the specific engineering capabilities, for example, like the broad areas of expertise needed? And do they have this internal, external? We've already heard about the lead of the technical charge, Michael Parker, and how he's fit from more perspectives. Which internal people fill our list of qualifications that we just heard that we need to actually move this forward? For all that engineering, who are the people that you've got in the company or with the company, or you're doing that externally?
Well, both. What we've done is we've certainly muscled up our technical team. We've got chemical engineers, processing engineers. Danny Keating, who's doing a lot of work for us, is a mining engineer. Our partners, Gallant Partners, who we consult to, are certainly helping on those multiple fronts. So I think with a project like this, you have to demonstrate to the markets, and you need to do it anyway, that if push came to shove, we're capable of putting this into production. And I think with the team that we have now, that we've built up over the last, call it 18 months, we're certainly in that category. Not saying we will, not saying we won't, but we certainly can.
That's good. So what projects did the guys work on before? You know that, or?
They actually one of them came out of Guyana. Both of them actually are Guyana. Danny's an Anglo-American geologist. He worked with our CEO, Ralph Rushton. That might be a better question for Ralph. He put this technical team together through his connections, and he knew the people at Gallant. So he's done a phenomenal job of.
So it's people that he worked with together in the past that are those kind of connections.
Yeah, there's the Anglo-American, and then what you find is good people tend to know other good people. So. Danny then brought in a couple people that work very closely with, that he's worked with, that kind of fit in really well with our corporate culture. So, as I say, you got to be prepared to put these things into production. They're smart guys. They've done this before. Ralph and I are more stronger on the development capital markets, even though Ralph is a geologist. We knew enough to know that we need to bring in these people. And they work well with the team. And, I think we need to give ourselves a little bit of credit. We took the project as far as we could without bringing in the heavy guns, the big guns, and that's what we've done.
So I think that was more than enough to understand how they're which people they have with which qualifications. Let's look at how they're incentivized. I love incentive structures. Like that's probably one of the things you can always look at, even if you don't know anything about a company. So I think for 150 million valuation, the salaries that they pay, they're pretty okay. Nothing that is like way too high or something that I'm not happy with that they earn that kind of money, because like they have to stay with the company and deliver results if they want to get a big part of their compensation, because that is through stock options. And yeah, they're not getting too big paychecks if they don't deliver. So if the price stays the same of the company, they have proper winning at risk. So they better deliver on what they're promising. So this is, to me, fairly aligned with the shareholders' interest. If we look at market buying, they're not participating too much. I'm fine with that, though. I think the incentives are okay. Obviously, you can't go in with that much money after some time. If you stay with a company for so long, it's just not possible. One thing that I also always like to look at is other shareholders. This kind of gives me validation that I'm doing the right thing. And this is what I really, really like to see, is when they announce that Eric Sprott went heavily into the stock. He owns now almost 25% of the company, which is great. And this gives him material voting rights. And this, validates my confidence that the company is making proper decision with the money. Because like if a person like Eric Sprott is in there and makes sure that he has voting rights, I'm confident that he would step in if there would be something massively wrong. But his entry price is already between 26 to 33 cents. So for him, this is already a successful investment, which I'm happy for him. We've talked a lot about the milestones and how do we get there, but let's look at how they align with the cash that we have at hand. So in the end of February, in the financial statements, we had roughly 8 million in cash, and we had warrants exercised, which gives us roughly 10 million in the account. What you have to do to actually finish the PA or the PFS, like, do you still need to do any drilling, or is it just doing studies? What are the exact kind of
That's a good question. We need to do some geotechnical drilling, and then we need to aqua drilling for water. So the majority of the drilling is done, I think, at Berenguela. We're at 42,000 meters of drilling. So, no, pardon me, more than that. We're actually 42 kilometers of drilling.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds not too much.
No. Faux pas. Freudian. But no, we've done a lot of drilling. We're adding in this new resource 82 drill holes. 70% of them are infill, so you'll see our inferred, some of it go into measured and indicated, and I believe the resource will be expanded.
To get to the PA and to the PFS, like how much in total you have to drill, and like how much is that part gonna cost, drilling and studies that you're doing with?
Well, it's mainly engineering work. So to answer your last question first, we'll probably spend around 15 million to finish off the pre-feasibility study. And if that's the route we go, PEA, we've already got enough money and drilling in that. But a PFS is a lot tighter document. It's a lot more accurate. So I think where we are and where we are in the markets, as I mentioned, our druthers is to do a pre-feasibility study, but we'll make a conclusive announcement in the next couple weeks. As far as drilling, you don't need a lot of drilling on the PFS because it's mainly just geotechnical, but we will be drilling those other targets, and those could be significant drill programs. The numbers are being put together now. And if you do hit on one of those two deposits, we'd certainly expand it. But we're also drilling the Challacollo project in Chile, which is currently sitting at 35 million ounces in measured and indicated, with a further 10 in inferred. Our goal is to significantly expand that deposit. And I think the average grade is 137 grams per ton. So it's a good deposit in its own right, but with silver doing what it is, I think it behooves us not to be aggressive.